Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into a Friday edition of the JP Peterson Show. We thank you so much for joining us here in your busy holiday season. I know you want to catch up with all things Tampa Bay sports. That's what we do each and every day here. 2 hours, not just Lightning, not just Bucs, not just Rays. It's everything Tampa Bay sports, and we love doing it. I want to say good morning to my co-host, Nick Geddes from On3 Sports. What's up, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing great. Happy Friday. And yeah, Thursday last night was a sneaky good sports night. I didn't have enough devices to go around. We had the Lightning versus the Vegas Golden Knights, the Thursday night game, which had some Thursday night football game that had major implications on the Bucs.
Yeah.
And then, like, for my own pleasure, I had the Magic and the Bucs and the NBA. And then, of course, USF is playing Syracuse in a bowl game. I mean, last night was a good night.
Yeah, and you got your UCF Knights playing today in the Gasparilla Bowl.
Absolutely.
So they're actually staying at the JW Marriott right across from Emily Arena. So as I was walking through there last night on my way home, saw a bunch of the UCF boys hanging out, not in a bad way, just hanging out with family there. So yeah, bowl season is underway, and what a game for USF last night. They whooped that ass, didn't they? Alex Golish going savage on the post-game interview. That was and we'll play that a little bit later on. That will be a meme that will be going around for quite some time in the USF circles. What an impressive performance last night by them and Byron Brown. And well, they clearly proved they can play with ACC teams, that's for sure, in Syracuse. A depleted Syracuse team, but whatever. It's bowl season. It meant that was an easy, by the way, they were underdogs in this game. If that had to be the easiest bet of bowl season by far, but well done. Hey, you had nothing to say about USF? Nothing to say about USF?
You cut in and out there the second when you were going through your USF part, so.
Am I cutting out like to the masses, or is it just to you? What do you think? What's going on?
If anybody out there, if you cut out, listening to JP,
if you can't hear, if I'm cutting out, let me know.
You cut out right there, so like I got the tail end of that. So.
Yeah, I mean, a hell of a performance by Byron Brown and USF. They're obviously wanting to be elevated to a Power 5 conference. The ACC is definitely going to have some openings. It seems like an absolutely perfect fit. This has been one hell of a season for USF, and Alex Golish has done one hell of a job. As I've said before, it's a double-edged sword, right? As he continues to impress everyone, that will include other schools that will be, and that's the problem about not being in a Power 5 and why it's so important for USF to get into a Power 5, because it's not just with coaches, but with players and everything. Everybody's going to come, knocking on your door when you have any type of success. And that's just where everything is measured in college football. You got to be, and sometimes that's not even good enough to be included in the playoff. If you're a Power 5 school.
Well, truthfully, I don't even know what Power 5 means anymore, and I definitely don't know what it's going to mean in the next couple years. So I think for USF, just worry about you. And listen, 2023 has been a banner year, really, for USF in all phases. I mean, you get the +6 turnaround. I think Northwestern was the only other team to have a 6-win turnaround this season. You put together a top 50 recruiting class, number 1 in the current group of 5 and in your conference. And on top of that, you throttle Syracuse 45-0. I think it's their first shutout victory since like 2009. Now we're going back to Jim Leavitt days. Like, everything they put together, and mind you, their 3 most explosive players on offense, Brian Battie, Jimmy Horn Jr., Xavier Weaver, they all left.
Yeah.
They all left. And we were looking at the roster like, who's gonna catch the football? Who's gonna run the football? All these
Sean
things.
Atkins, evidently.
And they pieced it together, and they showed that they care. Like, bowl games don't matter in some respects nowadays, and that sucks.
Yeah.
But what I saw last night was a team that cared and a fan base that cared even more so.
Yeah, how about that? How about the turnout for USF? They filled an entire side of that FAU stadium, that rinky-dink FAU stadium. But it was a beautiful, beautiful turnout. It's a great moment. And the other part about it is, there was NFL football on last night, and obviously hockey and a bunch of other sports, but they were the only college football game on, and being on the platform of ESPN, that's huge for USF on so many levels. I mean, the uniforms look great. They're running up and down the field. They're scoring points. They're high flying. Their coaches, just just laying it down savagely after the game. It's a great look. They just popped the best, group of 5 recruiting class as well, and in their conference, obviously, as well. I mean, that's a hell of a 24 hours. That's a hell of a 24 hours for USF. And, so much of it is you say, wow, it's a big 24 hours. It's not a big 24 hours. This has been years in the making. And I know a lot of USF fans will bang on Michael Kelly for coaching choices and whatever, but it seems like he's gotten the last 2 right. Even the basketball team seems to be pretty good as well. So, but the facilities and all the other upgrades, the AAU status for the university, all of these things, and obviously the new on-campus stadium, all these things have been years in the making by Michael Kelly. And it's no accident that all these things are starting to come to fruition now. It takes freaking time. So, yes, I know there's been a lot of frustration at times with Michael Kelly, but I've said from the very beginning, you couldn't ask for a better athletic director. You could not ask for somebody who's more connected than Michael Kelly. It's been, a little rocky road at times, but I think the fruition of this major funding plan and facilities plan is starting to come. We're starting to see the whole thing come together, and that's amazing. It's good stuff. Good job, USF. All right. And we'll talk a little bit more about this, and you guys want to jump in here on Twitter in the comments, you go right ahead. All right, last night I was at Amalie Arena in my elf suit, entertaining the masses as I'm wont to do. What a game. What a performance. I mean, you want to talk about electricity in the building. You want to talk about entertainment value. You want to talk about, going to a sporting event and just being thrilled and entertained. That was it last night. First period notwithstanding. The Bolts came out a little flat. They go down 2-0 to the Golden Knights. And in the second period, which has been their nemesis this entire year, they're 27th in the league in goal differential in the second period, and in the top 3 in the first and third. Go figure that out. So you're waiting for the demolition of the second period just to get blown out by Vegas. And then Alex Barboulay gets a nice pass from Victor Hedman and scores, make it 2-1. And then Barbashev takes, I won't say there were cheap shots, but he takes a couple shots at Sorelli and then somebody else. And Brandon Hagel takes offense to it. And he comes over there and they drop the gloves. And I'm going to tell you what, this is one of the best fights I've seen in hockey in forever. And the place just went nuts. It was, Amalie was just rocking. Then they get, shortly thereafter, they get a 5-on-3. And as the clock is ticking down on a 5-on-3, and you could just feel the building ready to explode, Kucherov just rips a one-timer. And, I mean, you could hear the crack. That when you hear that crack of the stick, it's just that whack. And then you see the twine popping back of the goalie. And that was the loudest goal of the year. I mean, the freaking roof blew off. And then the energy in the building, 30 seconds later, Point scores to make it 3-2. A minute and a half later, he scores to make it 4-2 on his belly, his 500th point. And then the third period comes along, and here comes the push from the Vegas Knights, the defending champs. It's coming. They score a couple of bit, and it's like, oh, here we go. We don't want to go to overtime. And then the Lightning push back, and Nick Paul, with an incredible, impossible angle shot, scores, and with a minute to go, and it's still not over. So the last minute, they pull the goalie. It's 6-on-5, and Vassie is under siege. Mark Stone is sitting on the doorstep. Nobody goes and checks him, feeds Carlson, right on the doorstep. Hedman gets his stick in there, barely knocks it away. And then they go to a face-off, and another point-blank shot wide open from the point that Vassie stops initially, and then can't find the puck, then looks behind him. You could just see it right there in the crease, and the entire building is like, and he jumps on it like a grenade and makes that save. And man, what a game, what a night. That was as good as it gets at Amalie Arena last night. Fantastic.
Yeah, watching the game on TV, it felt like one of the better atmospheres, I think, this season at Amalie Arena. It had a playoff game type feel. Obviously, we're close to Christmas, so everybody was already ready to go for that one. And then the defending Stanley Cup champions are in the house on top of it. And like you said, the second period has been the Lightning's Achilles heel really last year and this year. And that second period, you mentioned it, that Brandon Hagel fight changed the game.
Oh my God!
I mean, you saw the reaction from Coop on the bench. He was fired up when Hagel got into that fight. And by the way, the refs ended up giving him the extra 2, and it's like, okay, hold up, we got to kill a penalty now.
Yeah, ridiculous.
And I believe the Bolts forced their own penalty on that same power play, and that was able to shift momentum back in their favor even more. And then, as we've been saying all year long, the stars on this team is the reason why you don't give up completely on the Tampa Bay Lightning, even if they're not playing their best hockey. Because Nikita Kucherov, I mean, he puts up 3 points in like 2 minutes and 50 seconds.
Yeah.
It's that quick.
Yeah.
And he just changes the game. I mean, the pass he made from the corner to the slot, the Hedman, he rings it off the post and Point puts it in. I mean, that pass, you count on one hand how many guys in the league are making that pass.
Yeah.
It's just elite stuff.
It always seems to start with Kucherov.
It always starts with Kucherov. I know he had some frustrations yesterday. He got a bad unsportsmanlike because I think he was jawing at the ref or something like that on the bench.
Yeah. Cooper said he didn't say anything that's not said, 50 times in a game, and here we go.
Right, but when he was out there last night, he was still the best player on the ice last night for the Lightning. Obviously, Braden Point was right there with him. Your stars got to be your stars, but even then, in the third period, I mean, they give up 2 goals, and it's like I'm just talking to myself out loud last night, and I'm like, man, this Lightning team just doesn't have that ability to shut games down anymore. Like, it's so weird to me. But things kind of evened out a little bit after Vegas got their second one. The game kind of flattened out, and I thought both teams were almost playing for overtime. That's happening a lot this year, where it seems like you get a tie game in the third period, and both teams kind of just shut it down completely, and they play for overtime because they know they can both get at least a point. And I'm like, man, please don't let this go to overtime. Please don't let this go to overtime. And then Nick Paul, of all people, from a crazy corner, puts it in the back of the net for the game winner with just over a minute left. Here was the call courtesy of Bally Sports on that.
Oh, this ought to be good.
Point again. Point with 2 goals on the night. Point takes the shot, kick save, rebound, scores! From the corner, Nick Paul, 5-4.
Great call there on Bally Sports by Dave Randolph. What a fantastic moment right there. Nick Paul just, did not hesitate. Did not. In fact, I thought it was Kucherov because of the precision of the shot and where it came from and how quickly. I'm like, was that Kucherov? And I was like, no, that was jolly old Saint Nick Paul with the early Christmas present for all the Lightning folks. What a game. And that place just went nuts then too. But you knew, I look up at the board, I'm like, oh, minute 7. Woo. And this defense has been, not good, especially in these situations. And I'm sitting there, I'm watching the end of the game on the set with Paul Kennedy and Dave Andrechuk, and Andrechuk's just like shaking his head. He's like, oh, I don't know. So this is not going to be good. And I mean, how many quality chances did they get in that final minute? 4 or 5?
I mean, the puck goes right behind Vasilevsky, and he has to just agile that he is, turns around. Thankfully, he didn't bump it into the net himself.
Yeah.
I mean, it was tense, literally all the way down to the last second.
Yeah, it was brutal. It felt like a freaking playoff game. It really, really did. And you think about this, St. Louis went in and beat the Panthers last night 4-1. They're playing good hockey with their coaching change. And the Lightning just destroyed them the other night, 6-1. I mean, they just suffocated them like the old Lightning did. And they played with incredible intensity from the drop. Kucherov, obviously, again, with 2 big goals to extend the lead in that game. And then last night, that second period, what happened? They woke up, they got energy going, they played with intensity, and they took over the game, against the best team in hockey. And that is the best, coming off a crap loss for them, right? They get their ass handed to them up at Carolina. They were down 6-1 in that game and lost at 6-3. So, they came in ready to go and get those points back. And the Lightning, a little slow start. I think it was 10-9 shots in the first, but Vegas, they go up 2-0. And then, the Lightning just in the period where they've really sucked, just dominated. And then in the third period, I thought they played pretty well. And, a couple of, these defensive mistakes just continue to haunt them.
It's like I was almost saying this like after the weekend, like the loss they had against Calgary. Like I was starting to get a little concerned about the Lightning because, it's no longer like early November or something like that. We're more than 30 games into this. And at some point, you have to start stringing along wins, and you don't want to get behind too far in the playoff race where you're having to make up points, right? And the Lightning haven't proven that they can go on like a winning streak or like win like 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 10. That's really what they need. I'm hoping this like kind of catapults them a little bit. But again, we've seen them do this and then come out, 2 days later and lay a stinker. So I guess that still remains to be seen. But you mentioned the defensive miscues. I mean, it's so easy to like diagnose this Lightning team. Like they don't have a problem putting the puck in the back of the net. In fact, they're third in the entire NHL putting the puck in the back of the net behind Vancouver and Colorado. But you know what's killing them?
Defense.
They're third in goals against.
Yeah, third worst.
They've given up more goals this season than they've scored, and they've scored the third most goals in the National Hockey League. Think about that. Yeah. That's why you're giving up points left and right there.
Yeah, defensively, they've just been and it's not just the defensive guys, it's the entire team. And it was interesting. I think it was either Greg Linnelli or Michigan or somebody. I was listening to their show on the strike, and 102.5 HD2, by the way, where we will be soon, every morning live 10 to 12. And they were talking about the 2020 season pre-COVID, and the Lightning were they had gone. This was the post-Columbus era, right after the sweep, and they had changed some things defensively and changed some of their systems, and they had struggled through 33 games, and they were just right about 500 where they are now. And then they caught fire and they won 10 in a row, and then they lost 3 of 5 and then won 11 in a row. So is this that moment where this team finally ignites and comes together, figures it out, and starts playing the way we know they can play? We'll see. I don't think they were 27th in defense at that particular time. But this team is. So it's, there's still things to be fixed. But most of the defensive breakdowns, it seems to me, are like of recognition and lack of focus. I mean, they leave Marchessault, for a juicy rebound. That's what's weird. It's just they're just leaving guys wide open at the end of the game. Mark Stone's just like right there on the doorstep, and Carlson's right behind him. Is like, what do you, I know it's 6-on-5, but guard somebody. And Mark Stone would be probably the first one I would think would be important to not give all that time and space to. Agreed? I mean, and Carl, what are we doing? It seems like there's such, I don't know what it is. It's like, are you getting him? Am I getting him? There's just no cohesion to the defense. And it's time and time again, guys are just left the best. Marchessault. These are the guys you're supposed to know where they are, right? And they're wide freaking open. It just boggles the mind at times. I know they're better than that. I know they know what they're supposed to be doing, but they don't do it.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, what I will say is what the Lightning are 2-0 now in the your elf wearing era.
That's right.
So I believe the next home game is the 27th, which I'm going to be in attendance, by the way. No, and I tell you what,
don't even.
I think you need to keep the elf suit on.
Well, then my agent's going to be getting a call because unless my stocking is overflowing with some green cash, I ain't wearing. I'll be a good soldier a couple times. They want me to.
Did you wear the elf suit last night down for the last call?
No, I did not.
Well,
no, I'm not leaving.
I saw Lightning Radio ran a poll.
Yeah.
And they were overwhelming the odds in your favor to wear that
again,
suit. You didn't follow through.
I will be a team player, to a point. I'm going full Devin White on this deal. Like, either show me the money, and they know what I can do now. They know the magic in that suit, right? I'm 2-0, so show me the money. Show me the money.
You got to find something. Remember 2 years ago, it was your lucky coat.
Yeah, my lucky blue jacket. Yeah,
your lucky blue jacket.
Yeah, show me the money. So fill that stocking. Fill thine stocking with Christmas cash, and we will. We'll see. I'm clearly now the reason, as John Hill clearly knows, as he posted, green elf outfits are the reason for the Bolts' great period 2 play. Yeah, and I came out with the teams. People say that the Lightning cannot play in the second period. You sit on the throne of lies. Yeah, it's the elf quote right there, and that clearly inspired them, and away we went. As I said in my post yesterday, I think, or I was talking with Greg Wolf. He's like, "Man, that's awesome. You look fantastic." I'm like, "Yeah." I used to do updates on Sunday Night Football with Bob Costas. Now I'm wearing an elf suit on the Jumbotron. I don't think my career is going in the right direction.
It's all
I could be wrong, though.
It's all perspective.
That's what he said. He said, "Come on, man. You work for the greatest team in sports." I'm like, you know what? You're right. It's just my small contribution to entertain the masses. I hope you people were entertained, because my self-esteem definitely took a hit. Mike Holcomb, what's up? Merry Christmas, my friend. That game last night was the greatest back-and-forth game I've ever witnessed in person. Awesome win. Go Bolts. Yes, it was. It was. No question about that. Bolts basement. I knew this was coming. The Jaguars are on a 4-game losing streak. Their starting quarterback is out. Massive red flags for the Bucs winning this game. Just look at history of the Bucs franchise. He ain't wrong. Right? Remember, the Panthers just fired their coach. They traded Christian McCaffrey. They traded their best receiver. Yeah, this should be a walkover. Oops.
Yeah. If the Bucs have truly turned a corner, they're not going to let C.J. Beathard beat them in this game. Like, please. Like, right?
Yeah. But again, we have, and this is, I think, I don't think this is a coincidence, because I think Bowles tends to go soft on young quarterbacks. He tends to say, well, just, we don't want to let him beat us cheap, give him a cheapie. So we're going to, we're just going to play coverage and let him throw us the ball. And that's, to me, that's always the wrong approach. To me, you fire him up. You bring the heat, and you keep bringing the heat, and that eventually he'll crack. And I don't know why, but Bowles seems to be much more conservative at home than he is on the road. So I think they're averaging 15 points at home and 24 on the road.
Yeah,
I want to see Todd Bowles coach aggressively at home and get after C.J. Beathard. I don't even care if you give up, because here's the deal. Your team sucks at playing zone coverage. Yes, you're going to get beat in man-to-man. That's going to happen. But you're most definitely going to get carved up in your crappy zone defense, no pressures defense.
Yeah.
So just take it out of the freaking playbook. If you get beat one-on-one, I don't care. At least you're trying. But this soft-ass zone that he plays against some of these neophyte quarterbacks, awful.
Well, and I don't even think, like, the Trevor Lawrence absence, we said this on Monday, even if he was playing, I still this Jacksonville team, there's something off about it. And there's something off about Trevor Lawrence. I don't think he's been the transcendent talent anywhere near it, what you thought he was going to be. I think he's a solid quarterback in the NFL, right? So even if he was playing, I still was not going to rule out a Bucs victory in this one. C.J. Beathard back there, and I think the bigger absence for this game is there's no Christian Kirk once again. He's on injured reserve. The Jacksonville's offense was actually rolling when Christian Kirk was in the lineup, and ever since he's got on injured reserve, I don't think the Jaguars have won a football game, and he was kind of like the top target. I know they have Ridley and all that, but he hasn't had the greatest season. I mean, Evan Ingram has kind of been most of their offense in this one. So I'm looking at it, it's like, can we just stop Evan Ingram? I like my chances if you play proper man coverage against Calvin Ridley, right? and you play to your strengths, I think they should have success there. But I'm looking at Evan Ingram in this one because he's kind of been what's keeping that Jacksonville offense afloat. Obviously, ETN, there's still players here, but the Jacksonville offense without Christian Kirk in it really has not looked good. And I think that's a plus for Tampa Bay in this game. But kind of how Bucs Basement said, it's not lost on me that Jacksonville has lost a 4-game losing streak or has lost 4 games in a row. And at some point, that's going to flip.
Yeah.
And it can't happen here because we keep talking about how these games are so important and must win and everything. I mean, New Orleans, based on last night, they opened up the door for the Bucs right here to really take control of things.
Yes.
They really did. And you can be controlling your own destiny in a sense going in hosting New Orleans the following week.
You beat the Saints and you're in. That's it. Right. It's over. This Jacksonville game, honestly, is not as important, clearly, as the Saints game.
Have it.
Yeah, comes to the tiebreakers. Yeah, I mean, obviously, get to that 8th win, and then with all the different permutations, if you beat Jacksonville, lose to the Saints, and then beat Carolina, I'm pretty sure you're in as well. That gets you to what, 9 wins?
Yeah.
Which is the most the Saints could get to.
And I still for you, they ain't getting the 9.
Yeah, they're terrible. They're really bad. And David Carr is just, and Dennis Allen as a head coach is just not good.
4 years, $150 million, by the way.
Yeah. And I did say I wanted to see David Carr or Derek Carr here. I said it.
Derek Carr, David Carr, doesn't matter.
But also, I want to make sure we understand that, would he have played differently for this team than he is for the Saints? I would say yes. I would say with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Dave Canales and this team and not Dennis Allen, I think he would have performed better. But who knows?
I got to be honest with you. I've been thinking about it too. Like the whole should we re-sign Baker and things like that, and certainly it's trending that way. If you're Baker Mayfield's agent and you're looking at Derek Carr, and what he's making and what he's producing, I don't know. Does Baker suddenly have some leverage? Negotiations.
But again, we have to temper this. Like he was so bad the previous 3 weeks, so bad. I mean, under 50% completion percentage, turnover worthy plays. I mean, bad. And even to the point where he, in Green Bay, where he holds the ball too long and takes a sack and gives up a touchdown. I'm sitting there going, he just won't pull the trigger. He won't pull the trigger. And this is going to be a horror show today, just like we've seen. And then he comes out the next series and just let it rip. And I think that moment where he held the ball again, and Dave Canales sat down with him all week long, showed him the tape and said, look, guy, the guys are open. The guys are open on the original read. You're holding the ball. You're not letting it rip. You're afraid to throw a pick. Let the ball go. And on that ball where he held it too long, the deep ball, guy was coming open. He had, I think it was Evans. He had him deep. He was even. And when he's even, he's leaving. At that point, you got to let it go. He knows that. And he didn't again.
It's really that simple.
It's that really simple. Yeah. You either let it go or you're going, you might be able to run around and make a play, but on that bad ankle, he ain't been doing that.
Yeah.
It's I'm hoping, dude, let it go.
I'm hoping the consistency stays because that's been the issue with him in his career.
Right.
I heard a quote from Mark Schlereth this week that I thought was great. He said that when it comes to nut cutting time, there ain't anybody better than Baker Mayfield. And it's
true.
It really is true. So 3 games left, trying to go for the division, trying to get paid in the offseason, all those things. I mean, I'm hoping that Baker, like I said, nut cutting time, this is it right now for him, and I'm hoping that translates.
I go back to the Falcons game where he was awful again. And on that last drive, that throw to Chris Godwin, was Chris Godwin open? No, he wasn't. Did he let it rip? Yep. And look what happened. Those are sometimes throws that you have to make. And what forces you to make them? You got to make the throw. You don't have any more time. It's 3rd and 10. It's 4th, whatever it is. You got to make the throw. And he needs to play that way all the time. All the time. Like, make the throw. You got the arm. You have the accuracy. You have the ability. Let it rip. It's a tight window. I don't care. Let it rip. You got great receivers who can catch the ball in traffic. Trust them and let it rip. And if you throw a pick, who cares? Come back and do it again. And not a pick, but let it rip. And that mentality, you go look at the tape, man. It's all over it. It's all over. You go look at that tape and you look at the last 2 games before that, and he gets to his back foot and he won't, and then he's looking to run.
Yeah, he shouldn't even worry about picks. He's got the arm strength.
I know,
to fit it into any window, and he's only thrown 8 picks this season. It's not like he's like turning and most of those are at home. He's like not even turning the ball over mostly. So I don't know the hesitation, but obviously that's the quick flip, if he's going to be consistent.
All right, we got so much more to get to. As we speak, the FSU Board of Trustees is meeting, and they just dropped a bombshell, which I'm going to do. I need to digest a little bit of this, and I'll get back to you right after this break. We got the Rays to talk about, and vis-a-vis the Dodgers, who signed Yamamoto last night. I mean, it's just ridiculous what's going on in baseball. Is there a commissioner in baseball? Is there anybody running this
the same
circus?
Way how there's a commissioner in NCAA.
Yeah, exactly. It's just ridiculous. So we'll get to that. Much more Bucs talk coming ahead. Casey Hudson's going to join us, and Brian Bradley's going to join us as well. So quick break, and we'll be talking some Bucs, FSU, and all that stuff. Stay with us. JP here for my friends at your local Synovus Bank, and I do mean friends, and I do mean local. One of the local managers in Tampa is John Acosta, big fan of the show, and I've known him for over 40 years. He's been in local banking since 1983. You talk about developing relationships. You don't stick around for that long unless you're doing things the right way and have a great reputation, and that's the focus company-wide at Synovus. Big enough to handle any complex international transaction, but small enough to answer the phone when you have an urgent question about your business or personal account. And for personal accounts, they have a very easy app that works great. You can do everything online. And for large or small businesses, you will get that personal touch and services to help build your business, taking your dreams and aspirations from the whiteboard to reality. We can make that happen. Let us show you how. For a get-acquainted meeting to open a business or personal account, just call John or go to synovus.com to find out where your local branch is. JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA 2-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group, because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808. The holidays are engagement season. Where better than the Gold and Diamond Source to get that special ring? Of course, the customer service is impeccable. Julie and Steve Weintraub are the best of the best. And only natural diamonds, of course. It takes billions of years to form natural diamonds. You don't want something that was made in a factory 2 weeks ago. She certainly doesn't. And why deal with the mall madness when just one trip to the Gold and Diamond Source gets you all you need? None of the parking hassles, no nothing. The Gold and Diamond Source has the perfect gift for everyone. And don't forget to shop the Emily from Emily Johnson Weintraub, which is an affordable gold and diamond jewelry collection. It's always stylish and unique, and Emily has created this fashion-forward gold, diamond, and gemstone jewelry line ideal for everyday wear. Each piece is designed to enhance your look by featuring eye-catching modern geometrical shapes. And don't forget, for the holidays, only 3 to 5 year interest-free financing. And don't forget, for the holidays only, 3 to 5 year interest-free financing. So this holiday season, keep it local and make sure it's a Gold and Diamond Source diamond, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here on this tremendous Friday that may go down in FSU history. First, we want to say hello to our good friend Brian Bradley. How you doing, buddy?
I'm still efforting Brian on my end.
Yeah. Okay, let me know when you got him on because that will work. That will work. Just you got his number and everything. You good with that?
Yeah, just trying to connect with him.
All right, cool. Good. That'll give me a moment to say what's up. Florida State. And I'm just getting this cryptically from some people and also on Twitter. Their counsel, David Ashburn, basically came to the Board of Trustees meeting and said, according to the grant of rights deal, which is the most ridiculous, fraudulent, ESPN dominant document, their exit fee is now negotiated at $572 million. This is what I've been trying to tell you guys about this grant of rights deal. I've been talking to people that have looked at this. And by the way, you realize that this grant of rights deal is like the Rosetta Stone. Like they won't allow you to copy it. There's no electronic document of it. You have to go to the ACC office and into some room where they pull out the stone tablets, I guess. And then if you're an attorney, you have to go over it in that room. And which I've never, if you're an attorney out there and there's some legal documents that have to be, I mean, you don't even do that with top secret information. So for some ridiculous reason, you have to go to the offices to look at the document. Bizarre. Maybe because they don't want you studying the document. Maybe that's it. So they have studied this document at length and they've calculated it now to be $572 million. This is how fraudulent and ridiculous this document is. And I can't get the exact points, but this is what I've been telling you. They've been working on getting out of this grant of rights and the snub by the college football playoff and the lawsuit that they are now filing to get these documents. And there will be documents about if there was some meeting notes, if there was a narrative developed by the college football by ESPN, the fact that ESPN owns the SEC network now and owns the SEC in its entirety. They've taken the 3:30 game from CBS, and in this college football playoff, which they control, they promote an SEC team in Alabama and a soon-to-be SEC team in Texas over Florida State, which, I mean, that's a dreadful conflict of interest right there. So I believe that the lawyers, the attorneys, feel like they can get out of this grant of rights now because of this snub and other things that they've discovered for $0. That's what I'm getting from some people. I don't take me to that as the Bible. I mean, obviously there's going to be something negotiated, but that's what this is what this lawsuit that they're filing is all about. So I think that's the major news. And again, I'm doing this just looking at Twitter and getting texts from different people. So forgive me if I'm misspeaking, but I think that's the gist of what FSU is doing with this board meeting today. So they're getting out. And where are they going? To me, they're going to the Big Ten. I know there was some stuff last night on Twitter about, the FSU was rejected by the SEC. From what I'm being told, yes, the SEC doesn't want Florida State, and Florida State does not want the SEC. They don't want ESPN. They are now arch enemies. Big Ten is covered by who? Fox. So there's two entities now that are building against each other in college football. Fox, Big Ten, which if FSU goes to the Big Ten, then you have the West Coast brands that have just come in, and USC and UCLA and Washington and Oregon, those big West Coast brands. Now they add Florida State, and I'm thinking they're going to add Miami and Clemson and North Carolina. Now you have a national conference, not just a Southeastern regional redneck conference. So it's a much more broader, national, better conference then. And if you're from a competitive standpoint in football, probably easier to win. I'll be honest with that.
I mean, it's interesting. You have to look at it almost with an open mind because, the old way of college football tells you the SEC is so much better as a play because geographically, regional, the rivalry, you already play Florida every single year. But, I mean, and the important thing here with the SEC and Big Ten, they're saying right now probably that, they're not going to extend that invitation because Florida State has to figure out if the legal ramifications of this before the SEC and Big Ten even entertain this. They're probably they're in wait and see mode right now. So I don't necessarily agree with people saying that the SEC wouldn't invite them. I think the SEC has to say that right now to even see if this is a possibility. I don't believe for 1 second that if the SEC had a chance to get the Florida State, that they would just be like, oh, no, Big Ten, you go take them. Yeah. I don't know about that. But, yes, the Big Ten would have the footprint over the entire country at that point. And when it comes down to media markets and all those things, obviously that is kind of at the center of all this. So the Big Ten, I guess, would seem like the most realistic play. And the other schools, I think they've been kind of quieter on their desire to get out. And I think they're kind of just saying, you know what, Florida State, we want to get out too. You feel more passionate about it at this moment than we do. Clearly, you're putting all the resources towards trying to get out of this and seeing how ironclad this grant of rights really is. You go do your thing, and if it finds out that you can get around it legally, then we'll follow suit behind you. Yeah. So I could see a scenario where Florida State initially goes by itself potentially, maybe even goes independent for a year to see what happens. I mean, I think all these options are on the table, but first and foremost, you have to see if legally you can get around this thing. And especially since it's so difficult, and I'm reading here, Drew Weatherford is speaking as we talk right now at this meeting, and he keeps questioning why is it so difficult to get a copy of the grant of rights, and they're all
it's ridiculous
by the lack of transparency. And so these are all the things that they're having to contend with right now.
And if you're a regular listener to the show, a lot of this may sound a little bit redundant, but we get droves of new listeners all the time, and it's just things that are not being talked about that we have talked about and that people don't know. It's so interesting the way this whole thing has been shaped out, and it's ESPN. Okay, they own the college football playoff. Okay, they own the committee. Like there's this big dog and pony show about, Reese Davis is going to interview Boo Corrigan and get to the bottom of it's all a dog and pony show. They're just controlling things for ratings and how ESPN can make the most money. And don't forget this, folks, ESPN is hemorrhaging cash. All right. This deal that the ACC signed with ESPN, okay, originally was through 2027. All right. Then about 6-7 years ago, it was redone. Okay. And it was kind of redone with, it's all the same stuff. But as Florida State has now looked into this deal, and again, why is it so hard to look at this grant of rights deal? And speaking to some of the attorneys that have seen this grant of rights, they're like, there's a lot of weird stuff in there that was put in there that nobody knew about. And they should have done their due diligence when they signed it. And I get all that. Just the fact that extended through 2036. Through 2036, folks, that is not – when I first heard that, I was like, what? Why would anybody sign a media rights deal that far out when literally the atmosphere and the landscape changes on a weekly basis? Well, that is fiduciarily one of the most ignorant things I can ever – why would the ACC do that? And now you start seeing that, well, they were, they're in bed with the ESPN. This is the deal, right? But why is the SEC deal so much more money? And why ESPN is making so much money off this ACC deal? Because it's so far below market value. And you know who they're making most of that money off of? FSU and Clemson. They're the ones that bring the viewers. Nobody's tuning in for NC State versus Wake Forest. Sorry. So FSU was like, and the more they looked into this deal, this is why they've been bitching so much. They got screwed by their own conference when they signed this deal. And a lot of the stuff in that deal, they believe, was fraudulently presented as projected revenues. And that's why FSU is so pissed. People are like, oh, well, you want to get out, just get out. A $572 million exit fee? Well, that's going to be a little onerous. Sorry. It's not. There is a lot of the FSU people believe that there's a lot of questions about how this deal was done, why this deal was done, who negotiated this deal, where they work now. Boo Corrigan, Tim Corrigan, college football playoff, conspiracy, yes, all this stuff. And they want to know. Because I'm sorry, folks, Florida State should be in the playoff by the precedent that they have set. Why did it not happen? Why were not one but two SEC teams, that's right, Texas is an SEC team, elevated over them? And you know how much money this is costing FSU and the ACC? Tens of millions of dollars. A national championship is worth over $100 million in revenue, estimated. So, yeah, damn right they're pissed off. And you would be too. If it was happening to your team, you would be too. And you were locked into this terrible media rights deal that's going to keep you at a severe disadvantage from a monetary standpoint to compete with Clemson and Florida. You want to be locked into a deal where you have to take 30, 40 million less than your chief rival, the University of Florida, while they're just sitting back laughing at you? You signed the deal.
Hell, look at the hat I'm wearing right now. They're going to make less money on their TV deal than UCF is over the next decade. And that's right. That's almost even more egregious if you're FSU. It's like, don't get me wrong, they don't want Florida to be making 30, 40 million more than them either. But the fact that UCF, who just walks their way into a Power 5, all of a sudden is now going to be making more than you.
And the people at FSU, I'm telling you, the people within their hierarchy of their organizations honestly feel the ACC has screwed them, is in cahoots with ESPN, and continues to do so. That's the way they feel by how this legal entanglement and grant of rights has been handled.
Right. And I keep hearing people say all the time about, this is the wrong year to have these discussions because the playoff's going to change. And everybody keeps pointing out that, there's an automatic berth and everything. Yeah, you're right. There's an automatic berth for the ACC. But realize that if the playoff would have been played this year, the 12-team playoff, given what transpired, there only would have been that one ACC team.
That's right.
That got into the playoff.
And would have been 6 SEC teams.
And there would have been, it's just simple. Yeah. And again, it's simple economics as well. And we've been over it over and over. Over a 10-year period, it's $300 million plus more that these other schools are going to reach. And by then it's not going to matter, because I'm reading some of the quotes here from some of the folks, and they're saying that in the next 3, 4, 5 years, they don't even know if they can be competitive.
Yeah.
If this stands. So that's why there's so much need. And if you're Florida State, the leverage you hold in this, because I know people saying they don't have any leverage, the leverage you do hold over this is you are one of the few remaining preeminent brands of college football that actually moves the needle, right? And so the Big Ten and the SEC, if they're trying to create these super conferences, which, make no mistake about it, that's where we're heading, Florida State is one of the 2 to 3 programs left that there is to poach.
Exactly.
And you really can't imagine a new age college football without Florida State, Clemson, and at least Miami being a part of that super type of league.
All right, so to sum this up, it's just coming from my son, who's been following this and watched the whole thing today, and also from War Chant TV. It says FSU is filing a lawsuit challenging the ACC agreement and grant of rights. The ACC has set a requirement of $572 million to leave the conference. Ridiculous. When successful, a ruling in a Florida court would render both the ACC agreement and grant of rights null and void, resulting in zero penalty to leave the conference and seek new conference membership. Lots more info to come. So that, in essence, and I think does that jive with what you're reading on Twitter right now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's where they're at. And obviously the Big Ten will be interested, especially if they can get out. And you get out of this grant of rights, the biggest deal is immediately that money that FSU generates in their television rights deal would go to their new conference. You don't think the Big Ten wants them? Of course they do.
Yeah.
Because they bring in an estimated $100 million in revenue per year.
Yeah.
That's what FSU games are worth if they were on the open market.
And why is at least the narrative out there is that FSU is trying to get out of this conference because they know that it's inferior and all this stuff. Why is it when Oklahoma and Texas made that jump to the SEC?
Because where's the narrative being generated, Nick?
It was just a smarter play right in front of Oklahoma and Texas to make it, whether you like it or not.
And where's Oklahoma and Texas going? The SEC.
To the SEC.
Who are these pundits that are saying this? They work for ESPN. Who are the pundits that are ripping FSU? They work for ESPN. This is agenda-driven narratives. I've been telling you this since a month and a half ago when Kirk Herbstreit started that bullshit on College Game Day, which I will never watch again.
It is crazy though when you think about it. Like you mentioned, it's $572 million is their expected cost to get out of this.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma and Texas, it only cost them $100 million to get out of this, to get out of there, to get out of the Big 12 and join the SEC. Like it's crazy, like the difference of how difficult it is to get out of this conference right now. Mm-hmm. And I think ACC leadership has lacked for a long, long time. Like say what you want about Greg Sankey and everything. That guy goes to bat for his conference like crazy, and it might come off as corny and cringe, and ESPN gives him a platform to put all those infomercials out there. But he's a smart dude. Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Well, listen, I don't. The SEC is doing their business the way they do it, but it's underhanded. And it's in cahoots with ESPN, and it's not competitive. It's not an even playing field, and I don't like it. I don't think it's fair. And anybody else in our position would feel the same exact way if the deck was stacked against you. So don't come at me about FSU. Stop whining. Look at the position they've been put in by their own conference, who they trusted to do a media rights deal that was competitive and in the best interest of everybody in the conference. But they didn't. It was, we'll see. It's going to court now. There's going to be discovery. There's going to be depositions. There's going to, and I'm telling you, ESPN doesn't want any of this smoke. They don't want any of it. And FSU knows that. So they know this is not going to be a protracted court battle because they're going to settle. They're going to settle because they don't want their business on Front Street with what they just did. And we'll see. All right. Quick break. Brian Bradley's ready to go. So we'll do a quick break. We'll get him on. Casey Hudson's going to join us as well. And we'll get back to the Bucs in the 11:30 hour, looking ahead to the Jags. Go ahead. Hit that break.
Hit the wrong button here. I got a lot of buttons. Let me hit the right one here.
Tired of those stuffy, overpriced sports bars? Well, come join the fun at the Patio in South Tampa and watch your favorite football teams under the stars in a tropical paradise. It's a unique setting with huge wood decks beneath the trees, and don't worry, they have an inside AC bar with all your favorite bar games as well. The Patio has all the NFL and UFC sports packages. It's home to the Tampa Gator Club and the Bills Mafia, but all fans are welcome. Hey, my FSU buddies love to watch the Noles at the Patio. It's also home to a great happy hour weekdays, $5 White Claw vodka and $5 White Claw seltzers. $1 off all beer and wine from 3 to 7:30 off their already low prices. And every Friday happy hour, join us for Football Friday. It's our live broadcast from 5 to 7 o'clock with tons of specials. The fan mic for you to join the show. We'll have some swag and some ticket giveaways and more. So come out for the live broadcast 5 to 7 every Friday at the Patio and come watch football in a tropical paradise. 421 South McDill, just a few blocks south of Kennedy. Everyone meets at the Patio. JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA two-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808. The holidays are engagement season. Where better than the Gold and Diamond Source to get that special ring? Of course, the customer service is impeccable. Julie and Steve Weintraub are the best of the best. And only natural diamonds, of course. It takes billions of years to form natural diamonds. You don't want something that was made in a factory 2 weeks ago. She certainly doesn't. And why deal with the mall madness when just one trip to the Golden Diamond Source gets you all you need? None of the parking hassles, no nothing. The Golden Diamond Source has the perfect gift for everyone. And don't forget to shop the Emily from Emily Johnson Weintraub, which is an affordable gold and diamond jewelry collection. It's always stylish and unique, and Emily has created this fashion-forward gold, diamond, and gemstone jewelry line ideal for everyday wear. Each piece is designed to enhance your look by featuring eye-catching modern geometrical shapes. And don't forget, for the holidays, only 3 to 5 year interest-free financing. And don't forget, for the holidays only, 3 to 5 year interest-free financing. So this holiday season, keep it local and make sure it's a Gold and Diamond Source diamond, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here on this very interesting Friday as things are changing by the moment. And it's been a fascinating ride for FSU, and I think once this lawsuit is put out there, I just don't see how there's any turning back with the ACC. I just don't see how this is ever going to be resolved, and the rhetoric that's out there, and I think that there's a lot to be discovered. I think by a lot of different people, a lot of it's legalese that we all don't really understand, but I can just tell you in plain talk, people in the FSU camp really feel like, from a legal standpoint, they have been defrauded and have been put in a terrible position and think they have legal standing
and
to get out of it.
And it's important to note, by the way, and I'm following a lot of this from David Hill, who is with the ACC network, and he's been following this. And it's important to realize that Florida State doesn't seem to be putting a lot of their angst towards Jim Phillips and the ACC, but mostly at the Swofford era decision makers, who they kind of believe made this deal inexplicably, I think was the word that they used here, and kind of frustrated that few details were really made available to FSU board members at the time that this was made. So for transparency's sake, it seems like they're more upset about the past administration and the deal that they made here.
Yeah. If that's the case, then you can't, you got to eat it. If your past administration made mistakes and signed deals that were terrible and locked you in, I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to get more information, but that's, I don't see how, $572 million exit fee, like who would ever negotiate that? Who would lock you in to such a terrible deal? And there's always, legal ramifications, right? There's always ways to get out of contracts.
Catch me up here, because you're more obviously up to speed with what's going on at Florida State. What era are we talking about here when it comes to Swofford?
This would be back. John Swofford was the ACC commissioner for a long time, probably up to 2017, 2018. I'm guessing. I'd have to look it up. And I was thinking John Swofford. And John Swofford was the ACC commissioner. That's not the FSU president at the time. Right. But yeah, they feel like, I know this for a fact, that they feel like they were duped by the ACC, and then you start looking at the incestuous involvement, with Boo Corrigan and Tim Corrigan and ESPN and Swofford and all these people. I don't know if they were just ignorant in what they were signing or stupid, or were they, in cahoots?
Yeah, the idea that in 2016, after only 3 years of having this grant of rights, they extended it 20 years into the future. I mean, it kind of shows a lack of long-term vision for where the sport was eventually going to head. I think you probably agree with that.
Yeah. And back then it was weird, because I was sitting there, watching these whole deals go down. I'm like, wow, the SEC just cut a deal with ESPN to have their own network. I'm like, okay, the ACC should not be far behind. They were far behind, like way far behind. The SEC came up with the championship game, a conference championship game. Took the ACC, always playing catch up. But the deck was kind of stacked against them, and this is the problem FSU had from the very beginning with the ACC. It's they always refer to it as a basketball conference, and once FSU got in the ACC and they were so dominant in football, there was always this feeling like FSU was always kind of the outsider, and were never really accepted by the quote blue bloods of the ACC. They always looked down their nose at FSU and Clemson. It's kind of those football schools, those knuckle dragging football schools, right? There was always this sense of that going on. But even when I was back, working for the program back in the 90s, and that has continued, and they've always been kind of upset about the fact that the ACC really didn't care about football, like they didn't invest in football. Now FSU went through some times of their own where with Stan Wilcox as the athletic director and the following Dave, I forget his last name, who followed him as the athletic director. That entire regime really dropped the ball at FSU in terms of taking money out of the football program, not paying attention to the football program while propping up all these other non-revenue sports and putting all their focus and attention there, which is fine. They deserve to get stadiums and to get funding. But if you take your eye off the, you stop paying attention to the golden goose, you're going to get left behind. And I think a lot of the people at FSU feel like those folks at FSU dropped the ball at that particular time. But they also feel like the Swofford regime at the ACC really dropped the ball when they did this media rights deal. And when they redid it, I mean, we were joking yesterday about, look at the SEC network and look at the ACC network. Like, just look at the quality of production. I mean, the ACC is treated as ESPN as a redheaded stepchild, and their media rights deal is so grotesquely undervalued. That's why it goes to 2036.
Yeah, in all circles with the ACC, like I know people say, well, they have a network. Yeah, well, how many homes have the ACC network realistically? Not many. Yeah. Yeah. If you pay attention to programming on the ACC network, it's just a bunch of reruns of old games. Yeah. I don't see much fresh programming going on the ACC network. No. I don't see any of the faces of the ACC network, whether it's EJ Manuel, Mark Rick, and some of the other guys. I don't see them ever on ESPN programming the way I see the SEC network talking heads constantly. Yeah, I don't see original shows, things. I don't see any of that. So I don't know what the ACC in general has gotten out of that relationship.
No,
like you said.
As James says, so much better in the Big Ten. Can you imagine the Noles playing Oregon, USC, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State? Wow. Why go to the SEC and compete with the Gators? No need. FSU, Big Ten, Fox. Gators can have the SEC. Yeah. I mean, this is where this is headed, folks. And what's the problem is, and this is where it gets really fraudulent, the college football playoff, I mean, ESPN has admitted that it's a beauty contest. And I don't even know why they have a trophy. They should just have a sash this year. You're the prettiest team of the college football player. There should be no trophy awarded. You've already admitted that it's, FSU was not included because their quarterback was injured and you thought they couldn't compete and their offense was terrible, even though their offense was better than Michigan's down the stretch. After Connor Stallion, they got dismissed. J.J. McCarthy had 1 touchdown accounted for. Previous to that, he had 17. Interesting. No sanctions at all against Michigan for their cheating. We're going to prop them up. They've beaten nobody, but we'll prop them up because we have to have a foil, right? We have to throw Fox a bone and make sure that their team is involved, right? While we in Washington, and we'll bring those, so we'll throw them a bone right now. But as this playoff moves forward, this 12-team playoff move forward, there is no way we can have ESPN in control of this. Tim Brando said this the other day, that you have to have another network partner involved because ESPN clearly has shown they can't be trusted. That is absolutely true. And Fox would be nuts. Fox should have a piece of this postseason deal. Absolutely 100%. So that's why this 12-team playoff, who was trying to block it, I believe that was the ACC. And they know that you can't have ESPN running the show, clearly, because they're going to, all these, everybody gets an automatic bid, but what about all the at-large bids? How many are going to go to SEC teams? Because they're always propped up as the better teams, even though they had a sub 500 record against the ACC this year. And that's happened in other years as well. So, I mean, it's just, it's so, college football right now is a disaster, and it needs to be completely reformed under one umbrella and run like a professional sports enterprise that it is, like the NFL. All these media rights deals and all this other bull crap, they ought to rip the whole damn thing up and run it like the NFL, because that's where it's going anyway. And people say, oh, I don't want professional football. It's already professional football. It's just, and they're getting paid now. It's just completely out of control with no regulations whatsoever in the NIL, and no regulations in terms of what teams make what kind of money. It's just not fair. And it's not fair for the UCFs. It's not fair for the USFs. It's not fair for the Iowa States. It's not fair for the Mississippi States. It's not fair for anybody. It only serves Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma. That's all it serves right now, is those elite blue blood teams. It's interesting how that works. All right, we'll take a quick break. We're having trouble getting Brian Bradley on. We'll apologize for that, and we'll get him on at another time. Casey Hudson's going to join us to talk some Bolts, and we'll keep you posted on what's going on with FSU. And also, we're going to get into the Bucs as well, folks, and I want to talk some Rays and baseball. And we talked a little USF at the top. We'll do that as well in our second half. Stay with us.
Do you have any old coins sitting around the house? Well, the Gold and Diamond Source will purchase a variety of different types of coins and bullion. Their gold buying program includes sterling silver, platinum, and watches. They also accept unusual pieces that other jewelry stores do not, such as gold bars and sterling silver flatware. The list of items they do accept is far more extensive than those they don't, so check it out. While you're there, you can check out the largest collection of any family-owned jewelry store in the country, especially with summer coming to an end. The holidays are right around the corner. Never too early to start your holiday shopping, especially if you're planning on getting engaged or have any birthdays or anniversaries coming up. Come on in and find out what buying jewelry should be like with an expert staff of gold and diamond jewelry enthusiasts. And the best part, they treat you like family. And if you're worrying about price, don't. The Gold and Diamond Source has something for everyone's budget. They even have a layaway. If you stop in and get your favorite piece now, you can have it paid off by Christmas. Plus, you can even finance your purchase with 0% interest for up to 5 years, and you can get a $5,000 diamond for only $83 a month. It's the greatest folks in the world, Julie and Steve Weintraub, the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. Hey guys, are you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had? It's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well, so do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Look, testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability, not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Folks, I've been on testosterone therapy for over 6 years, and it is a life changer. You will feel and look better than you did 10 years ago. Give them a call at 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group, Jeeves. Call for a free case evaluation, 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES. We're local, we're trusted. The law firm brings over 80 years of combined legal experience focusing on clients in Tampa Bay, the state of Florida, and national class action cases. If you're injured, get that free case evaluation, no cost to you. The Jeeves Law Group's focus is on auto, truck, and motorcycle accidents, as well as class action and consumer protection law. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in the Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. You hear him on the show all the time. Great guy, big Gator fan, and great for the community. The Jeeves Law Group is a highly skilled team with years of experience that will apply their skills, expertise, and knowledge to assist individuals who have been in an accident with compensation for damages, lost wages, medical expenses, pain and suffering, and property damage. Get that free case evaluation, 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES.
Coming back at you.
Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. I was just checking in on some other outlets doing some reporting on the FSU deal, and they're echoing exactly what we're saying here today, Nick, that FSU is filing the lawsuit. And as I've told you guys for a long time, when this gets to subpoenas and discovery and depositions, ESPN doesn't want any of that smoke because they know exactly what they did and they know how they did it. And FSU, and this is another thing I've been told from the people inside, and if you think all those people at ESPN that were concocting that narrative, you know, there's a lot of people involved, and you don't think any of them have FSU ties and have access to that information and have forwarded that information. You know, Ashley Moody, Ron DeSantis, Rick Scott are not going out there with their ass hanging in the wind just because they want to make some political points. I mean, you know, I don't put it beyond politicians to do that, but they know there's something there. And FSU would not be filing a lawsuit if they didn't know it didn't have some goods and know that they can they can challenge this media rights deal with the fraud that has taken place with this college football playoff, and that they can go into a court, especially a Florida court, and get a favorable ruling, get out of this grant of rights. And when they do, if you don't think the Big Ten is going to be sitting there waiting with open arms and say, bring us your hundreds of millions of dollars in media rights, you're a fool. And I think personally that FSU would be better served to go to the Big Ten and into the arms of Fox, who will love you, as opposed to, you know, going back into the arms of ESPN, who loathes you. Why would you do that? Go to a partner that wants you, and go to a conference that's going to be a national conference at USC, UCLA, Washington. I mean, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Clemson, Miami, North Carolina, or you want your little regional conference down there in the Southeast and sell all your chicken wings. We're going to be selling luxury cars on our air. You can sell your chicken wings and whatever you do. I don't want to denigrate the Southeast. This is where I live. I love our Southern football. I love all that stuff. But I hate the ESPN, and by proxy now, that's the SEC. And let's go.
We'll see. This is the first step, so I don't think any of this is going to be. I think we still got at least a year or two to go before any of this really starts to play out. So,
well, let's class up this show, shall we, and bring in Casey Hudson and get our mugs off center stage. What's up, Casey? How are you?
Good morning, guys. I'm doing good. A lot better than FSU, that is.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a rough December. There's no doubt about it.
It has.
But this is unprecedented stuff that's going on here. And this is, you know, people with a very, you know, expensive law degrees looking at contracts and stuff like that. It's not stuff that I ever thought I'd be talking about as a sportscaster, but it's, you know, money rules everything now. And you know, you've been covering sports now for a while, Casey, and you're getting into seeing how the sausage is made, right? And,
yeah,
you know, it as much as we would like to make it all, you know, rainbows and lilies and competition and fair competition, and we love the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat in sports, it's about money. It's about money and nothing but money, and it's corrupting the whole innocence of sports in my world. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm getting to be a cynical old man when it comes to sports, and I'm sad about that.
It's okay. I'm already kind of cynical as is, but yeah, money rules the world, and now the access and the ability to money or negotiations or contractual situations, that's going to make it even worse. And plus, when it comes to college football, college players can kind of get in on some of the endorsement action. They can use social media to their advantage. So I think it's just kind of this shitstorm that nobody knows how to get a hold of yet, and we're just chasing the dollar bills before we dial in on anything else. So we'll see what the next couple of years hold. Nick made a good point, though. I don't know if this is going to really pan out much for another year or 2 or 3. Those contractual obligations are a little too binding.
Well,
I was going to say, I bet
lawyer
you
you talk to.
Yeah, I was going to say, though, Kay, I bet you feel a lot fortunate that you get to cover the NHL because compared to all the other sports, I feel like the money part is actually like pretty lower tier, I think, compared to some of the other ones. And I think for the most part, it's about the actual game. And so I think that's still great. And I'll transition to the games because we saw, Vegas and Tampa Bay last night. I mean, first and foremost, the atmosphere in the building. I mean, it came over the TV screen. I mean, that had to have been one of the best atmospheres all season long, right?
Oh my gosh, I think that's the loudest that the arena has been all season. It felt like the playoff atmosphere of, versus Toronto, which says a lot because we know how much Toronto gets under our skin. But you can just tell that fans were so desperate. I hope you guys still hear me. StreamYard hates me right now. I think you can also just tell that fans are so desperate for some good hockey out of this team or consistent hockey. Like we haven't seen it. We've seen some flashes on the road. We've seen some flashes at home. The way that the season opened, at least at home, we thought we were still going to be in a good place. So I think that was just so much desperation and screaming out of fans yesterday because it was every little thing. I mean, I think guys next to the press box were probably the loudest fans that I have heard in my entire coverage of the NHL. But yes, the money problems aside, we've got some life in this team, and I think we saw a lot more good than anything that we could critique last night.
Yeah, and I was talking to the folks in the Chase Club last night, and the bartender Chris said that Kucherov goal was the loudest goal of the year by far, and you could just that was the post Hagel fight. 5-on-3 is ticking down, and then the I can still hear it in my ears, the whack of that one timer. That crack, that sound of that crack, and then you saw the twine just go, it was just, and the place just exploded. And and that's what it's all about, and when it comes down to it, that's the joy of sports, right there.
Yeah, and then especially hockey. I mean, that's some of the exciting part about hockey and why fans show up. It's funny because I saw somebody tweeted, I think we actually got the real sound of lightning cracking because of what that goal sounded like. And I'm like, dang, that's such a good point. It all plays into it. But the most important thing which you mentioned was also the fact that this team capitalized on a 5-on-3 opportunity. So Brandon Hagel's fight was amazing, but hot take, it wasn't the momentum swing for me. The momentum swing for me was this team finally getting a freaking goal on 5-on-3 and then building off of that. Like Hagel dropping the gloves cast. Barbershop's probably one of my favorite players out west, so that was even more entertaining for me, especially because he paused and let the guy take off his glove rather than just wrecking him. But it's all the other stuff that surrounds that. I think fans they just had so much entertainment intertwined in one.
Yeah. I think the difference is, I mean, they decided to actually just let it loose and just shoot. I mean, I feel like the 5-on-3, they get a tendency because they're such a great team at passing the puck on those situations. It's like they play with their food a little bit. And you saw right off the draw, Kucherov took like 2 slap shots immediately, like to set the tone right there. And I like you said, I thought the Hagel did change momentum too, but I definitely see what you mean. I mean, that whole flurry right there. I mean, Kucherov, just speaking specifically to him, he's a point machine, and he puts up 3 points in a span of 2 minutes and 50 seconds. I mean, we were reminded again last night, he is just in a different tier right now in the league.
Oh my gosh. If it wasn't for him anchoring, then there would be a lot of no-goes happening for this team. And it's his relentlessness to just continue to create opportunities, and it's his chemistry with Braden Point. Like the conversations that you see them having, even some of the conversations that he'll track back and have with Bassey really quickly as he gets moving. He's always just so keen to making sure he has the best visual possible. But there's nobody in the league really doing what he's doing. And I think you said the most important thing. They're shooting now. Even Steven Stamkos mentioned that the other day. after his successful 4-goal game. It's just, now everybody's starting to take those opportunities rather than the extra pass, and it's helpful. This game is getting faster and faster. You cannot sit there and play with your food, as you put it, or else you're going to end up sitting in the turnover category and handing the game time after time after time.
Casey Hudson joining us here, covers the Lightning for the Believe Network and Odyssey Sports. Last night, Vasi, and you go back to the St. Louis game, I thought Vasi was tremendous in that one. We're starting to see that cat-like quickness, that superhuman quickness. We saw it again last night on display a bunch of times, but no more than that final minute 13 after Nick Paul scored and they go 6-on-5. It was just like nobody was sitting. Everybody knew the Lightning defense was under siege. And we're like, I'm sitting there next to Andrew Chuck, and he's like going, oh God, this is going to be bad. And they're just, Mark Stones, they're playing with his food and nobody's going to him. Carlson's sitting there, nobody's going to him. But Vasi stood tall and just would not be beat. He's been great the last 2 games. Your thoughts?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, I think we know that Vasi already has a tough time with losses as is, but anytime that he has to question his performance, his bounce back ability is like no other. But I will say the nausea that hits when there's 15 seconds left. We've seen goals go in against this team with 1.3 seconds left on the clock. So I'm pretty sure all of us were holding our breaths, but you're seeing the fact that Vasi's feeling better in his body, not only with some of the saves that he yesterday, but did you see when the puck kind of slid past him and didn't touch the line and he completely belly flops backwards onto the puck? Like if anything we're going to tell that Vasi feels better, it's that. Hopefully he's only a little sore today and totally fine, but he's game by game, he's going to give himself less excuses. He doesn't care the injury and the surgery anymore. He wants to get back to being Vasi, and he did just that last night. We just saw him stretch himself in so many ways, because at some points when this team was on siege, it was Vasi standing on his head that kept him in the game and didn't make it a 7-4 situation, Bolts with a loss there.
Looking ahead, and they're in the middle of playing, I think, four straight playoff teams, Vegas, then Washington, Florida, and the Rangers, obviously. It feels like this team kind of needs to go on one of these runs where they take like 7 games out of 10 or 8 out of 10, something like that we haven't seen this year from them. What is your confidence level at this point? Because I look at the win last night was great and they grinded that out and everything. But I mentioned earlier, scoring's not their issue. They're third in goals, but they're also third in giving up goals. And so they kind of balancing each other out. So what's your confidence level that they could go on one of these runs here, hopefully?
Weirdly, my confidence level is kind of high. Last time I got a chance to chat with you guys, I think I was kind of on my spiel about this team getting a chance to find their identity, and they're starting to get a chance to do that. And we're seeing how well that's playing out with the recent line changes. I love Nick Paul on that top line. I've always talked about somebody being up there that can distribute the puck, but Nick Paul's had a lot of success in the face-off circle so far this season. He's probably leading the team, if I'm not mistaken. He's always in the takeaway category for, creating turnovers and getting the puck back. So imagine that guy being on top line with a magician like Kucherov and a guy like Braden Point. So that line change alone, I think, has been a key factor in kind of finding where this team should be trending. You got Hagel, Cirelli, and Stamkos together, which I love also because Hagel and Cirelli together are the dynamic forechecking go. And then you've got Steven Stamkos who can polish off the puck as well. So all that to say that we're probably going to see one more little line change. They've got to figure out who's going to be able to help set up Tanner Jeannot, because he's creating so many chances on his own, but he needs that extra little help. I mean, he was probably one of the top guys creating scoring chances last night, but nobody would know it because he didn't get the goal. So I think that this team, since starting to figure out what's meshing for them, and then you've got Sheary that's come back and made an immediate impact. The guy has 7 points. And he's picked up a point, I think, every game since returning from injuries. So if they continue to build off of this stuff and get to the point where they don't have to overly communicate out there, they talk about simplifying their game, because you've got guys coming from flashier systems that have to learn that you don't have to do all of that. Because Jeannot probably would have had a goal if he didn't try to go between the legs and score kind of stuff. So I think that with them figuring out where they're meshing, that they do have a strong opportunity. Them beating the Capitals this weekend is going to probably be where I can confidently say, okay, they're heading in the right direction, because the Capitals are going to be the team that blocks them out for the most part if they continue on their successful run. But I think that they're figuring figuring things out. Bassey's looking better. I still love the fact that Johansson is the backup and he has showed what he's capable of doing, so they can alleviate Bassey at the right time if and when they need or want to. It's figuring out these lines. They just have to get that down packed, because you can't have offensive guys that should be scoring overly playing defense. They're getting caught up in the transitions, and that's where they're losing against fast teams and all these teams that are distributing on the rush. So I think they're getting there. I'm feeling good about it.
Yeah, that's one of the things with Mott and Connor Shearer being out. Connor Shearer being out for an extended period of time, they've not been able to get those lower lines going as they should. We're starting to see that. It's a great point. And I was talking about this with Chief and Engblom as well. Defensively, Hayden Fleury was just scored a goal the other night. That's the first goal from a defenseman other than Hedman and Sergachev. And both of those guys aren't necessarily filling it up as well. And I asked them, I said, when you're struggling defensively, and are the defensemen just thinking about nothing but getting back and not getting up into the play? Because here's the thing, it's kind of counterintuitive. But the more time you spend in the offensive zone, the less time you spend in your defensive zone, the less chance for them to score on you. So if our defensive guys are just constantly backing up and not getting into the play, we're spending less time in the offensive zone, which gives them more time to score. So in other words, your defenseman being confident and getting into the play helps you defensively. I know that's counterintuitive, but they're like, yeah, this is where they need to be. So we're not. So it's just like it's not organic. Our defensemen are not organically playing defense. They're just constantly going back, and we're just giving up the zone too easily. And so they've got to be more offensive to be better defensively. Does that even make sense? Because it
makes 100% sense. I'm glad you brought this up, because somebody when I mentioned something nice about Fleury or whatever, and of course somebody tried to come for me on Twitter about it, like, what could you possibly like about Fleury? And I'm like, well, let's look at when Fleury got drawn into the lineup and who gets scratched in place of Fleury to play. Not to mention is that we've seen multiple times that when they're down a player, they actually use Fleury as a rotation on the fourth line as well as a defensive pairing. What's the theme here? It's the fact that he can play up confidently and he can also track back. But what I love about what you said, JP, is the fact that I talked so much about this with Greg Wyshynski and a few other people over at ESPN, but the league is changing. Stay-at-home defensemen are kind of fizzling out. We're seeing what we saw in fall, when the tight ends went from putting their hand in the dirt to turning into oversized wide receivers and hybrids, which I hated. But games change, So with this defensive situation, stay-at-home defensemen are kind of fizzling out a little bit. They like a lot more offensive defensemen, and they like defensemen with speed so that they can track back, they can anchor and keep the play in front of them, and they confidently play forward. Eric Chernak is a perfect example of this. You see him swing behind the opponent's net more than he ever would his first 2 years in the league, because that's where the game is heading and that's what they have to do. So the more that you can contribute offensively, you're keeping the puck in front of you, you're anchoring blue, you're not letting much get behind you. If it does, you have the speed and the transition ability to get back, get the puck back played in front of you. And it's important because that's how every other team, especially the successful teams right now, are playing. So I think it's a bit of an adjustment for these guys, because I saw DeHaan starting to do it earlier in the season. It's not his strong suit quite yet. He was kind of getting caught too far up top, and then a lot of plays were happening behind him. Right. But I think these are things that they work, and they're plays back into the identity situation. But Mikhail Sergachev, offensive defenseman. Victor Hedman, of course, one of a kind. He's a freaking unicorn. Yeah. You've got Eric Chernak kind of changed his game up a little bit. You've got Perbix and Darren Radish. I mean, Radish has been tremendous in my opinion, in a lot of ways. But yeah, every defenseman kind of has to get that offensive confidence going with them and not overthink it or not second guess themselves, because then they're not able to contribute defensively. They're too caught up in the play that they just have.
And tomorrow night we get Washington before they go on the little mini break for Christmas. How would you handicap this? I look at it on the surface. Washington they're a playoff team, but -8 goal differential. They don't score a lot of goals. And Ovechkin, I think he just scored his first goal in like 15 games last night, which I was getting worried. I'm like, I hope this guy doesn't explode against the Lightning when they play him. But does this look like a good matchup, at least for the Lightning tomorrow on paper?
Yeah, I think it's a good matchup. What I like about this test ahead, and as you mentioned, at their goal differential, it's not like they're this big scoring team, but they do come up more down when it comes to defensive plays. They've got some key guys on their end, but they can be forced to stay in their own zone and play too much defense. And the Bolts, they carry over the momentum and the way that they transitioned yesterday versus, a very good Vegas team, then they have a chance versus the Capitals. The Capitals are going to force it a little creative. One other thing that I've seen is that, remember in playoffs how Toronto kind of was able to block out the Bolts in the neutral zone and kind of load up in the net and take away all the passing lanes? Capitals are kind of on the same theme there. So seeing how the Bolts try to spread them out, try to create time and space is going to be a great test to see how well these lines are playing. If they can bring in some of those cute pass sequences that we've seen, but not overpass, take those shots, because the goaltending and the opportunities alone are right there, but they're going to have to create time and space. So I like this matchup to see where they actually are. If yesterday wasn't just a stroke of luck and then we're about to have a 3-game, whatever, they need a good defensive to see where they stand and if they can produce.
Casey Hudson, great analysis there. And I wanted to bring up this topic with you because I know you're one of the leading voices in women in sports. And something has happened over the last probably year and a half that has never happened. And that's women's sports on TV getting ridiculously big ratings. The volleyball championship the other night in Tampa drew a high of 2.1 million viewers. We had the Nebraska event draw over 110,000 live viewers in the stadium volleyball event earlier this year. Caitlin Clark. Those numbers for women's basketball are bigger than the WNBA. What the hell is going on in women's sports? And here's what I really want to champion. That volleyball match, 51% of the viewers were women. So women are watching women's sports now, which is something that hasn't really happened over the last 10 years. This is something I've been waiting to see. And this is good stuff. This is economic impact. This is catching the eyes of a lot of people, and I think it's huge for women's sports. Your thoughts?
Oh my gosh, it's tremendous. Well, for starters, thank you for the kind words. I think what's helping this so much is, putting women in front of the camera a lot more and showing that they actually they're home and they're not just a pretty face to distribute information for people to gawk at. It helps break the intimidation barrier. That's kind of like what my goal is with hockey. Hockey's its own storm as is, and it can be very intimidating for any new fan. So sometimes people have a playful approach to it. It's because I want new fans to realize that you can come and make this your own as well. Like you can start speaking hockey jargon next week if you want to. Like there's no rules here and there shouldn't be any boundaries. So having women on camera, showing that they do their homework and that they can not only translate the information, but have fun with it and be personal about it, it's going to invite more women in. It's going to make women feel like they're not just trying to learn this to impress a guy on a date. All of those stereotypes that put into everything, those are going to slowly start coming down, but you have to have more women in front of the screens in order for that, welcome in, welcome all kind of thing to happen. So the volleyball stuff, I think, was a huge launching point for that. Yeah. Of course, guys like anything competitive and athletic, and that was such an insane game where they had all those – having a female voice be along, even on panels with guys, it has to stop being this dynamic where guys are only in this arena and women are only in this arena. It's starting to combine them to show that they can play off each other and bring everybody else in. So I think it's huge, and I think it's only going to help the sport. The more views, the more fans you get, that plays a huge role for everybody's pockets. The athletes get better endorsements. They want to talk to the media a lot more because they're being taken care of. Athletes in a good headspace is good for media coverage, and then we can extend off of that, which is better for fan bases. So it's all synergistic and very important. But I think that, no offense to guys, women are going to be the warm welcome for men and women or new fans in any sports. Just say, screw it. I want to be a part of this and I want to join in. Yeah. And it's, I tell you, watching that volleyball match and this crowd at Amalie Arena were incredible. It's as exciting as any, any sport. It's a great spectator sport. Volleyball is such a fast game. The athleticism involved, I just think it's great. It's great for women's sports. It's just great for all sports. And I'm glad that everybody is embracing it. Now, Nick brought this up earlier, and now you were there last night and you witnessed the last 2 nights of that little green elf on that low. I took pictures of you. I had to have them stored in the bank just in case anybody wondered.
For blackmail purposes, yes.
Wrong. JP's commitment is strong. I was like, not a Santa
Thank
suit,
you.
not antlers. No, he went as Buddy the Elf for 2 nights in a row on the big screen, and you looked fabulous.
Thank you. You have any idea how much crap I've gotten from my friends? Well, how much money did they have to pay you to get into that suit? And I'm like, come on, man. I'm trying to be a good elf here. I'm trying to be a team player. I'm trying to entertain the fans. I don't take myself that seriously. I can make fun of myself. I'll put a dunce cap on and look like an idiot for you people. Why not?
Why not? Yeah, the delivery is still fantastic. You're just giving them aesthetics on top of it. I thought it was great.
And we're 2-0.
It makes you
we're
feel
2-0
for looking like Mrs. Claus yesterday, and I was like, guys, I was just excited about the holiday. Like, I had a fuzzy top on and a red suit, and people were like, "You're really committed." And I'm like, "Since when? Do we not do this anymore?" Yeah,
what's wrong with that?
It's encouraging. And then the fact that you did Buddy the Elf earlier in the week, you really set the tone for people to show up and commit. Yes, I thought it was a very encouraging point there, but I loved it. And I have proof that it'll go down in history.
That's right.
JP committed.
Yeah.
Nick looks like he was like, yeah.
Anybody wants to challenge my commitment. Now,
I was encouraging him to wear it like going forward until they lose. Like he had this like lucky blue coat that he wore 2 years ago. And we went on like a winning streak with that lucky blue coat. And I'm like, I think the green elf is our new lucky coat this year.
I have to draw the line. I have to draw the line somewhere. Okay. We're not going there.
I'm not gonna lie, this is making me superstitious. It's freaking me out. I mean, down to the socks and stuff. I have to wash certain things and wear them again because now I've convinced myself that I have a role in this team's wins and losses. So if they lose on Saturday, JP, you're back in the green coat at least.
Well, that's an away game, and I will not. There was some talk here at the home base. My girlfriend Ashley wants you're not going to be wearing that Christmas morning. You didn't bring the elf suit home. Are you kidding me? She wants me in the elf suit for Christmas morning. I'm like, I don't see it happening. We'll see.
Why not?
I don't know.
It's going to lighten the Christmas of all the kiddos.
Well, I'm actually the grand marshal for the boat parade tomorrow night in Tampa, and
so
I was thinking about going Buddy the Elf, but my friend David Kahn at Bespoke & Company has this unbelievable red coat with the big furry lapels. It's Santa-esque, but it's so much cooler. So yeah, I'm gonna
Santa meets Hugh Hefner.
Yes,
I've noticed anytime I try to
very good.
You can't help but look like Hugh Hefner at Christmas. Just saying, like any outfit, unless you add a tummy to it, you're Hugh with a jolly spirit.
Maybe I'll go with a little pipe too, a little tobacco pipe. I like that. I like where we're going with this because Santa has a pipe too, right? Huh.
Exactly.
You just I'm not telling you what's going to be in that pipe, but we shall see. We shall see.
Zero
right,
guesses.
Yeah, right. Hey, so what are your holiday plans? What do you got going? I always like to hear about your family. Grandma speaking English yet? She
oh my gosh. She's on a tear all over again. Let's just say the holiday parties that I was complaining about last week that my family signed me up for, it was karma because we didn't make any of the parties. All these new cars' electrical systems are having sort of like all kinds of issues. So my mom's e-brake or electrical brakes did something weird. I'm having to get towed all the way back home. And I was like, I'm back where I decided to be. But now I'm looking forward to being around my family. My mom's hosting our Buena Noche this year. So anytime she's cooking and doing everything, I feel like everybody's a little bit calmer because they know we're the calmer side of the family. After my grandma, though, she still has a lot of demands and wishes. I think we all got her the wrong gifts this year, even though she told us something completely different a month ago. So
excellent.
You guys tuned on that one. But nope, we got 2 holiday parties just amongst the family. We do Buena Noche and then Sound of Music. That's our mission. My mom makes us watch the sing-along and watch her sing along to the thing.
Oh, the Sound of Music sing-along. I like that tradition. That's very good. That's very good.
Christmas,
I want to see some video of that. I want to see some video of that on your social medias. I want to see Grandma singing the Sound of Music and stuff. That's some great songs in the Sound of Music. Oh yes, for sure.
It's so good. It's
all
so
right.
good.
Have a great Christmas. Have a great holiday season. Give our best to your family, and we'll get a full report on Grandma's gift opening next week.
Yes, you will. Merry Christmas, guys.
All right, awesome. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back in our other side. We're going to update you on the FSU Board of Trustees meetings. I have a rundown now on their list of grievances against the ACC, so we'll give you that. We'll give you some Bucs talk as well as we preview the big game with the Jaguars. A little bit of Devin White. Yes, he's going to play.
And I was also going to say I have a little bit of an update on the Jaguars. As well.
Okay. Lots of good stuff. All right, we are brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVESLawGroup.com. Go check out Scott Jeeves at his Tampa office or his St. Pete office. He is local, and they are a big enough firm to give you all the might that you will need against these big insurance companies, but they're also small enough to answer your phone calls. Big community supporter, so keep it local with the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVESLawGroup.com. And the Golden Diamond Source for your last-minute shopping, folks. They have the inventory. They're not picked over like every other store I've been into. No, they are fully stocked, great prices. Their own parking lot. You don't have to worry about the mall stuff, right? Just drive right up, jump in there, tell them what you need to spend, who you're looking for. The staff will hook you up. 3 to 5 years, 0% financing. Get that engagement ring. Go ahead, do it. Pop the question. It's the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road in Clearwater. Back in 3. Tired of those stuffy, overpriced sports bars? Well, come join the fun at the Patio in South Tampa and watch your favorite football teams under the stars in a tropical paradise. It's a unique setting with huge wood decks beneath the trees, and don't worry, they have an inside AC bar with all your favorite bar games as well. The Patio has all the NFL and UFC sports packages. It's home to the Tampa Gator Club and the Bills Mafia, but all fans are welcome. Hey, my FSU buddies love to watch the Noles at the Patio. It's also home to a great happy hour weekdays. $5 White Claw vodka and $5 White Claw seltzers. $1 off all beer and wine from 3 to 7:30 off their already low prices. And every Friday happy hour, join us for Football Friday. It's our live broadcast from 5 to 7 o'clock with tons of specials. The fan mic for you to join the show. We'll have some swag and some ticket giveaways and more. So come out for the live broadcast 5 to 7 every Friday at the Patio and come watch football in a tropical paradise. 421 South McDill, just a few blocks south of Kennedy. Everyone meets at the Patio. JP here for my friends at your local Synovus Bank, and I do mean friends, and I do mean local. One of the local managers in Tampa is John Acosta, big fan of the show, and I've known him for over 40 years. He's been in local banking since 1983. You talk about developing relationships. You don't stick around for that long unless you're doing things the right way and have a great reputation. And that's the focus company-wide at Synovus. Big enough to handle any complex international transaction, but small enough to answer the phone when you have an urgent question about your business or personal account. And for personal accounts, they have a very easy app that works great. You can do everything online. And for large or small businesses, you will get that personal touch and services to help build your business, taking your dreams and aspirations from the whiteboard to reality. We can make that happen. Let us show you how. For a get-acquainted meeting to open a business or personal account, just call John or go to synovus.com to find out where your local branch is. JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA two-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or try to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808. The holidays are engagement season. Where better than the Golden Diamond Source to get that special ring? Of course, the customer service is impeccable. Julie and Steve Weintraub are the best of the best. And only natural diamonds, of course. It takes billions of years to form natural diamonds. You don't want something that was made in a factory 2 weeks ago. She certainly doesn't. And why deal with the mall madness when just one trip to the Golden Diamond Source gets you all you need? None of the parking hassles, no nothing. The Golden Diamond Source has the perfect gift for everyone. And don't forget to shop the Emily from Emily Johnson Weintraub, which is an affordable gold and diamond jewelry collection. It's always stylish and unique, and Emily has created this fashion-forward gold, diamond, and gemstone jewelry line ideal for everyday wear. Each piece is designed to enhance your look by featuring eye-catching modern geometrical shapes. And don't forget, for the holidays, only 3 to 5 year interest-free financing. And don't forget, for the holidays only, 3 to 5 year interest-free financing. So this holiday season, keep it local and make sure it's a Gold and Diamond Source diamond, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show on this historic day. FSU has they've pretty much thrown down the gauntlet to the ACC. They're not messing around anymore. This is from, I'm going to find the actual tweet here from Ryan Kelly, one of the ACC college football reporters. Official, the FSU Board of Trustees is filing a complaint and lawsuit against the ACC in Florida court of 7 counts, including restraint of trade, unenforceable penalties, breach of contract, breach of fiduciary duty, violation of public policy. The vote of the Board of Trustees was unopposed. And as Drew Weatherford told us a couple months ago, was on the Board of Trustees, it's not a matter of if they leave the ACC, it's when. And because Drew knows a lot of the stuff that has not become public yet, but will become public in this lawsuit, of that lack of fiduciary responsibility that the ACC completely capitulated on in this grant of rights deal. And when that happens, I mean, you can have signed contracts, but if there's, if ESPN and the ACC don't live up to their part of that bargain in terms of obtaining promised revenues, well, then those contracts can be broken. And that's where they stand right now. So that happens all the time. That happens all the time. If you don't live up to your fiduciary responsibilities of the contract, you can get sued and you can break that contract. And that's where FSU is. And given what just happened with the playoff, I don't think it's going to be very hard for them to prove that in a court of law. So
yeah, we will see. It's like a 38-page filing, by the way, that just became public. So if you want to read that, by all means, go read that legal jargon and tell me what you come up with.
On 3 is calling, Nick. That's your assignment for the day, by the way.
Hey, I don't cover college dues at On 3, so not my assignment. In fact, I like covering the pro side for sure. And speaking of the pro side, I said I had an update for you on Bucs and Jags. So
yeah,
Doug Peterson just spoke within the last hour. It doesn't seem like it's set in stone that Trevor Lawrence is not going to play. He is expected to practice in full today before they head off to Tampa. And he has to pass the protocol today to travel. That's out there. But he was asked if it's better than if it's a coin flip that Trevor Lawrence plays. He says it's probably better odds than that. So do the math there. He's saying there's more than a 50% shot that Trevor Lawrence, I would assume, passes the protocol and plays for the Jaguars on Sunday.
Well, let's just put it this way. If he plays like he did last week, bring it on.
Won't matter.
If he plays like he's concussed, fine with me. He was missing guys by like 10, 15 yards last week. It was bad. Maybe it's because he felt a little concussed. I don't know, or had symptoms or whatever. I'm not making light of that, but he hasn't been good.
Remember, he still has that high ankle sprain, right?
Yeah,
and
he does.
Still,
That's right.
Think about it. He's got to do recovery for that probably weekly.
Yeah,
while
those things don't go away.
Well,
they do not go away. You can get them taped up and shoot them up. But as the game goes on, and that's his plant foot too, if I'm not mistaken, it's hard to be accurate when you can't use your legs the way you want to use your legs, and that's a big part of his game.
And I'd like to think that he probably doesn't have as much mobility as we're used to seeing from Trevor Lawrence. So yeah. I bring that up because we saw yesterday that it appears the Bucs' plan is to rotate KJ Britt and Devin White. And let's say Lawrence plays and he's out in open space. Let's not have Devin going on skates, please. We don't need to see that. I don't think we need to see Devin White in general. For the life of me, I can't. I mean, nobody's story has added up. It seems like the Bucs were trying to get around this whole policy the NFL has about injuries and disclosing them and the stories. It's like him and Devin clearly did not line up beforehand to get their stories correct. So I take all of it with a grain of salt. I don't believe any of it. I believe everything that Rick Stroud reported, that Scott Reynolds reported, and Stacey Dales reported. 3 very credible reporters, especially Stacey Dales, who works for the NFL. Absolutely. Is not going to put out inaccurate information. Is that Devin White's absence this past Sunday was not injury-related. He just didn't want to play because he didn't want to be a rotational player. Listen to what Richard Sherman said. You think that guy doesn't have contacts in the Bucs building? You're kidding yourself. He just didn't want to play. I think that's an offense where he shouldn't have the C anymore. He shouldn't play the rest of the season. But, of course, it looks like he's going to find his way back onto the field in some capacity this Sunday. And I just hope that it's not those few plays that he misses that cost the Bucs.
Well said, my friend. And I am in total agreement on all of that. This is completely on brand for Devin White. This is completely on brand for Todd Bowles. And I'm here to tell you the reason there is a disconnect in the information is because there is a disconnect in this organization as regards Devin White. Okay. That means, the hierarchy in the organization does not value Devin White and has not valued Devin White as much as Todd Bowles does these past couple of years. And that disconnect is the reason we have what we have here and we had at the beginning of the season. Because this is somebody even went on and I retweeted this, went on X and did like a little graphic of like the cycle of Devin White, like, right? Goes out on his own, immature social media post, crappy football, followed by mea culpa, followed by one good game, followed by a cryptic media post, followed by quitting, followed by mea culpa. It's just a circle. It's like a child. It's like, you give him, you keep enabling him, he's going to keep doing the same damn thing.
And I think it's unneeded. And I don't think it's a distraction necessarily in the Bucs locker room right now. I mean, they still went 3-0 without him. They certainly looked like a distraction last Sunday. But if
he wasn't playing. This week he's going to play.
Correct.
Which is ridiculous.
According to the reports, there's Bucs players and coaches who are not thrilled with Devin White's attitude lately.
Of course they're not. Of course they're not.
And they shouldn't be.
No. You think Mike Evans is okay with this stuff?
I wouldn't think Levante David's okay with it. I don't think any leader on this team's okay with it.
You think when Baker Mayfield said when everybody gets mad enough to care, then things will change. Remember when he said that? You know who he's talking about? Devin White.
Yeah, and
exactly who he's talking about.
I hate that in the midst of a 3-game winning streak and being in first place in December, which is something that I don't take for granted for the Bucs because it just doesn't happen often. I mean, outside these last 4 years and some other years before that. And here we are talking about what I think is the weakest link on this football team in Devin White.
Yeah.
And I understand fans are frustrated by that, but it's a story. Listen, when Bucs players and coaches are not thrilled with a team captain's attitude, he's still one of your highest paid players as it is at 11.25. It's a story, and you got to talk about it.
And he's costing you games, and you're putting him back in the lineup because he's going to play on, in third down situations. Oh, because he's so good in coverage. So so when he's on the field, he's just going to rush the passer. So now we're tipping our hand that we're going to blitz every time he comes on the field. He's a liability. He's a liability.
But here's the thing. People use him in a pass rushing role. This guy can't get off blocks at the second level. What makes you think he's going to get around people in a pass rushing ability? It's not like
plus you're tipping your hand. You're tipping your hand if you bring him in, right? You're not going to let him cover a running back. Maybe you are. How stupid would that be?
It's not like 3 years ago when he finished with 10 sacks or something like that. He's got 2 sacks this year, and both of them were gimmies. It's not like he did anything crazy. He just came unblocked through the middle.
Exactly.
That anybody can make that play. I just think KJ Britt has played so disciplined, and like I said on Monday, is playing the position. He's in the right position to make plays. He's not doing anything crazy. And I think Levante has benefited from it. Levante's been spectacular all year. He can play with anybody.
Defense benefits from it.
I feel like Levante looks even better and is making more splash plays because he's not having to deal with Devin.
Right. And here's the other thing. When you can't get off blocks, you know what happens? So you're so easy to block. You're running into 3 guys that are trying to make the tackle because you're on skates.
Right.
And they're at the point of attack. You're the key block at the point of attack, and that's why teams run for days when he's in there.
I just think it's one of those things where Todd Bowles he's going to go to bat for his players, and he tries to control the narrative, and I think he tries to do that to avoid distractions. But I think by doing the way he's conducted himself, all he's done is open it up to more, because the media just keeps prodding at him because none of his stories line up. I think he's made it more of an issue than it is. If he would have just said on Monday that KJ Britt's our starting linebacker and Devin's the backup, I don't think we would still be talking about this today.
Yeah, and if Devin doesn't like it, he can leave. I mean, it's so. I said this on Monday. This is how you take responsibility and end this situation. You as the head coach say, this is what's happening, like Mike Tomlin did with Pickens.
And I don't understand why it's taboo to say these things. I mean, I'm old enough to remember 3 years ago when Leonard Fournette was upset about his role, and Bruce Arians told the media straight up, I had a conversation with him, and I told him, hey, if you don't like your role, then I'll let you go.
This is
Bruce
why
Arians
Todd Bowles
said that out loud.
Yeah, this is why Todd Bowles is a losing coach.
Leonard Fournette responded to it.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like being a parent. If you enable these kids, you're not doing your kids a favor. You're not. You're doing exactly the opposite. They need tough love at times, and Devin White needs tough love. And like we saw this in the offseason, all the stupid cryptic social media crap. I want to trade. Week. And then he comes back in front of the media and says all the right things, right? And then proceeds to play like crap, play selfishly, play not to get hurt because he's trying to get $100 million. I was like, you believed that mea culpa, and now you want me to believe this one? No, I'm not that stupid.
If Devin White wants to continue his career this way, I got the perfect spot for you, and it's Pittsburgh, because they seem to have a culture of nowadays under Mike Tomlin. They seem to have that culture of it doesn't matter how bad you play, he'll keep playing you, he'll enable you, he'll go to bat for you, like he's doing with George Pickens and all these other Steelers players. That seems like the perfect spot for him. If he wants to keep this up. You think he's enabling Pickens? I heard him say, "Shut the hell up." Yeah, It felt like before he was enabling Pickens, but this week he's been a bit more transparent and has gotten away from the Tomlinisms a little bit. Yeah. And he realizes this is an issue, but I think historically he's pretty much enabled. And I think Pittsburgh fans are pretty fed up about it, but that's another story. A couple other things I wanted to bring up. The Dodgers signing Yamamoto last night, 12 years, $325 million. To go with Tyler Glasnow, to go with Clayton Kershaw, to go with Ohtani. Kershaw's a free agent. Yeah, to go with Ohtani, to go with Will Smith, to go with Mookie Betts, to go with Freddie Freeman. I mean, how ridiculous. And if the Rays spent that $36 million they saved on Margot, and did they go out? You know what? Blake Snell's still available. Maybe they can spend that money on Blake Snell and bring him back. Listen, now's not the time I think bring that up, because the entire market has basically been a standstill waiting on Ohtani and Yamamoto, and I think you're going to finally see a hot stove heat up a little bit more so than what it's been. I think the Yamamoto and Ohtani's were holding free agency hostage. So now the Rays are going to go spend some big money? Is that what I'm not guaranteeing that. I'm just saying I think in general – I think teams are going to start opening up their checkbooks a little bit more now that these two big names are off the table. Chance the Rays have a $50 million payroll or a $120 million payroll. Like we saw the article, like Neander came out and said a month ago, oh yeah, we could definitely spend as much as we want to spend, but I'm not going to. We don't need to. It seems like until the Rays add players, they're going to have to start trading players because they're full on the 40-man. So you got to look at guys like Harold Ramirez. If he's out the door, maybe they revisit bigger trades like Paredes. I still can't see them trading Randy at this juncture, but they got to clear room before I think they could really make any moves. So I expect them to probably be more active in the trading department first, if that is their plan. But I just think in general, though, the move yesterday, the overall grand scheme of things, like – at least we have a villain, I guess, in Major League Baseball, and it's the Dodgers now. And, I mean, the fact that they spent over $1 billion, which is more than the GDP, I think, of like 8 countries, by the way, they spent on 2 players. Wow. I mean, unbelievable. It's crazy how much of a different league the Dodgers are in than anybody else at this moment. I mean, I still don't think it's good money spent, to be honest with you. When you have $700 million in revenue every year from television and Japanese television,
and you actually decide to spend it on the players, yeah, you can do it. Other teams can spend money too, but they're just not doing it.
It's crazy though. I mean, the other teams are trying. Like the Mets put out the same offer. The Mets put the same offer that the Dodgers did. The Yankees, I think, gave him $300 million over 10. He got $325 million over 12. So the Yankees put out by money wise a better offer. He just wanted to go play with Ohtani, and that's fine. But listen, Major League Baseball loves this though. They love this. They have the number one market they have is Los Angeles, or the number two markets is Los Angeles and New York. And look at the talent: Soto, Judge, Cole, and now Betts, Freeman, Ohtani, Yamamoto, and so on. They are begging.
But what about the rest of the league?
What about care? They don't care.
But that's not good business.
The World Series
that's not good
ratings
business.
were at the lowest they've ever been this year. They've been declining. They are begging for a Dodgers-Yankees World Series. They love this.
You know what, though?
You still got to play the games.
At the sake of the rest of the league. And I think when everybody else is irrelevant, then that's not good for business.
I don't think so either.
All right, partner. By the way, don't forget to come on out to the boat parade. Tampa Boat Parade coming on tomorrow night. Starts at the Convention Center, Harbor Island, goes up to Armature Works, turns around, comes back around. Starts at 6 o'clock, goes to 8 o'clock. We'll be at Sparkman Wharf at the end of it. Going to be great fun. You can still get tickets for the VIP area. Just Google the Tampa Christmas Boat Show, and you'll get all the information. Going to be fun. I'll be the Grand Marshal with my beautiful red jacket. Wait till you see this, baby. This thing is way better than the elf suit. Way better than the elf suit. At least for my self-esteem, anyway.
Hey, Lonnie has a message for you before we sign off. Merry Christmas, gentlemen. Don't get stew in your stocking. I'm sure you love that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Y'all pray for me tomorrow at the Nutcracker. I'm going to need all your prayers.
Oh, my God. You'll hear that in his sleep the rest of the way. Yeah.
And then we'll be back, Tuesday?
No show Monday or Tuesday. We're taking a break. We'll be back on Wednesday. I will probably we'll be doing a post show for Buccaneers. So we'll put that up on the JP Peterson Show Network. So you'll be able to check that out. Peter Blake and I will be doing that from the field on Christmas Eve, following a big win over the Jaguars. So we'll have that. And I may do a little something on Monday and Tuesday. So keep your eyes on the social media. Just check in every once in a while. We might do a quick one if big news happens. So a big thanks to all the listeners out there, you commenters, James, Lonnie, all you guys out there. I can't name all of you. You're fantastic. And I just appreciate so much all the people that have watched and continue to watch and spread the word about the show. We can't do it without you. We thank you so much. We try to give you independent voice. We try to do things that nobody else is doing. And we really, really appreciate you and our sponsors, the Jeeves Law Group, Bay Area Modern Medical Center, Italiano Insurance, Chris Lugo at Bay Area Modern Center, Jeff Italiano and Dane and Charity and everybody over there, the Golden Diamond Source, Steve and Julie. We love you guys. Thank you for your support. Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group, Fitzy at American Mortgage Services and Clayton over there. Big USF win. Go Bulls. Synovus Bank, John Acosta, saw him yesterday. Thank you all so much for all you do and allowing this program to flourish and get out there some things that other people don't talk about. The independent voice of the fan. Nick, happy holidays to you and your family, and Casey and everyone, Mom and everybody over there. Have a great Christmas, and ho, ho, ho. We'll see you guys next week.